Hey guys, it's Kate and today you are in for a spooky ride. I hope you're ready to buckle up yourself because one thing is certain, Edward won't be able to lend you a hand. Not only because, well, his hands are literally scissors, but also because he's busy exploring his brand new home that I will build in this speed build. In my last spooky build, I built a house that was inspired by The Nightmare Before Christmas, and this time around I once again felt inspired by one of Tim Burton's Halloween classics, so I built the castle that we all know out of Edward Scissorhands. In the movie, the castle is Edward's original home and it's a very dark and gloomy place. What makes it look so unique though is the garden in front of the house that is colorful and happy and characterized by intricate topiares that Edward loves to do with his scissor hands. I am generally living for contrast and I love using them to work out a unique appearance of a build, and this dark castle with the beautiful colorful garden is just so stunning. We are obviously limited with what we can do in this game. I already said this in my The Nightmare Before Christmas build, so I tried to recreate it as best as I could, but it for sure doesn't look 100% the same as it does in the movie, which is why I also want to put an emphasis on inspired by, but I did my best and I hope that you guys like it. I am a massive Tim Burton fan, not only when it's Halloween, but I think just like many people, for me his movies just belong to Halloween and they are also part of my childhood. I'm German and as I said before, Halloween wasn't really a thing here when I was a kid. It only became more and more popular when I was already a teenager, so I don't have any specific Halloween childhood memories, but I still watch movies like Edward Scissorhands or Beetlejuice when I was little, and they honestly spooked me a little, but I always enjoyed that even when I was probably way too young. As you just saw, I worked out the shape of the castle. Part of it is in ruins, so I built the main part of the house which is still intact and then attached the part that looks like a ruin. I used regular wards in combination with half wards for that, and for the little tower in the front I combined a room with a huge column that is part of Spa Day. It's one of the little details that make it really look like the castle out of that movie, so it's crucial to the shape and general appearance of the castle. I used two different kinds of colors for the wards, both are very dark, but one of them is slightly lighter. This way I was able to create more depth and make it look more versatile. I think what's so special about Tim Burton's movies is that he really manages to create this divine fantasy worlds that suck you right in and make you forget reality for a bit. Even his Batman movies really stand out when you compare them to all the other ones when it comes to the whole atmosphere and the style of the set, I think. I love the whole setting of Edward Scissorhands and the set itself. They actually used this suburban neighborhood that they painted in pastel colors and they reduced the size of the windows to make it appear more paranoid, as they said. And in case you didn't know, they used a real life actual neighborhood for this. They simply paid the residents, they moved out for a while and they repainted all the houses after the filming was done. I don't know about you, but I would think it's so cool to live in the neighborhood where the movie was filmed, and I wouldn't have repainted my house after they were done. I would have rocked that pastel pink suburban nightmare till the end of my days, and I would probably tell everyone about it and I would be fangirling so hard. I did not include any of the pastel colored neighborhood that we see in the movie. I just wanted to focus on the castle and the garden. In the movie, the castle sits on an enormous hill right at the end of the street, so it towers over the neighborhood, and this again creates this wonderful contrast between a gloomy, dark building and friendly colors that we use in the neighborhood. Just like the castle and the garden have this lovely contrast going on. I used a room at the bottom to create a mountain and placed a lot of rocks at the side to hide that it's, well, just a room at the end of the day. Usually I like to use the default base game rocks, but for this I used the bench and stool that came with outdoor retreat and sized them up because these support the cartoonish look that I was going for. Luckily terrain tools are confirmed now, so in the future we will be able to create builds like this on a actual mountain without using a room or other tricks like this, and I personally am so excited for this update. It will be so much fun to build things that were basically impossible to build before, and another thing that will be new that was confirmed for the update are different levels for foundations, so we will be able to build proper split level homes finally. And it will be possible to create unique creative buildings that we've never seen before, I guess. And yeah, this is a really big deal for building in this game. I mean, every simmer has his or her own building style and you can't really compare any builds. Every build is unique in its own right, but at the end of the day there's a limit to what can be done regarding landscaping and all that stuff, and I think that the terrain tools and the different foundation levels will open up a whole new world of possibilities. I'm I don't know, I'm just really excited to see what other builders will create with these tools, and of course I'm also thinking myself about new ideas and what could be done with that. And yeah, leave a comment down below and let me know if you have already developed new ideas and if you're hyped up about the update. For the garden I used a lot of yellow and red because these colors were predominantly used in the movie for the flowers, and of course I also added a lot of topiares and used hedges to finalize the look. I also added another ruin on the left of the garden just to tie the look together, because while this build is all about the contrast between the dark castle and the colorful garden, I still wanted it to look like one cohesive build, so I added the ruin and also used black fences and rocks at the bottom. For the castle, on the other hand, I used the red colored vines that are part of the vampire pack, and also these light brown colored stones that look like fragments of a ruin, so I can use some of the colors that I used in the garden at the top, so it just looks a little balanced. I did not go overboard with this though. I still wanted the castle to mainly look dark and the garden to look colorful and happy, but adding these little details just made it look more cohesive and balanced. I also want to take a second to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports me. Thank you to all the subscribers, to everyone who watches my videos, to everyone who comments, likes and shares my builds and videos. We just hit 1K subscribers. I'm completely in awe. I still can't believe it. So thank you so much. It's obviously not all about the numbers. It's about having a wonderful community, about creating content and enjoying doing that. But it's still such a very special milestone that I'm really excited about. I've been playing since Sims 1. I love building, and I have completely moved over to The Sims 4, and The Sims are generally my favorite game of all time, and I also enjoy creating things. I also love to draw, for example, and this channel just combines two of my favorite things: creating something, editing videos and all that, and The Sims, and you guys make all of this here really meaningful, and thank you so much. Here I am adding lots of details to the outside. I said it a million times, but it's all about the details and about balancing them out. So I added cracks so the castle looks more old and authentic. These cracks are part of the vampire pack, and I also used the red wines that are part of that pack. And I mentioned that before. I wanted to bring some of the color that I used in the garden to the top so it looks more cohesive and balanced, and these red wines are just perfect for that because they bring in a little pop of color, but they don't look too flowery or happy or anything like that, so they go really well with the whole old castle and ruins aesthetic. And talking so much about Tim Burton, a random story comes to my mind. One of the earliest memories that I have about a Tim Burton movie is me being sick while watching Batman, the one from 1989. And a little bit of backstory: I was born and raised in an area of Germany that is notorious for coal mining. The whole area and its big cities were built upon coal, figuratively and literally. My grandfather, my uncle and my dad used to be coal miners, and it's a huge tradition and part of many people's identity there. And when people think of coal mining or working in a mine in general, they oftentimes think of people using a pickaxe and mining coal manually, but in reality it's much about maintenance of machines and repairing them and all that stuff. But it's definitely a physically really demanding job, which is something that I have always had a lot of respect for, and it can even be very dangerous. And every now and then the people who worked there had the possibility to bring someone they know, and a guide showed them everything so relatives could get an idea of what's going on down there. And since it's such a huge part of that area, as I said, it can probably be compared to visiting a museum, I guess, and they explored everything in a group. This wasn't something that was open to the public. It was strictly the coal miners and whoever they decided to bring. However, the whole ordeal took hours, and my dad brought my mom since she was curious about it and wanted to experience firsthand what it's like down there, about 1 kilometer underneath the ground. You had to walk very long distances down there, oftentimes uphill and full equipment, and it could even be dangerous at times, and you really had to pay attention where you stepped and all that. So when my mom and dad were down there, I stayed at my grandparents for the day, and in the evening my parents picked me up, and especially my mother she was completely done. Her whole body hurt. She was just so dead tired and just wanted to fall asleep. But then little me started throwing up right when we arrived home, and I was really sick, so she had to stay awake all night after that horrible day and take care of me. And to this day she sometimes mentions this torturous day and that I had the worst timing ever to fall sick. And yeah, I remember watching Tim Burton's Batman and feeling really bad. It's one of those really weird childhood memories where you have such a vivid memory of something so insignificant, I guess you could say. It's really weird. Building the interior was an intense task because I used so much black that I could hardly see what I was even doing. In the movie, the interior is much more open and looks like a huge castle, which is what it actually is. But this recreation is much smaller. As I said, I was just inspired by the movie and I wanted the build to be very manageable. I did not want to build on a huge 64 by 64 lot and decided to use a 40 by 40 lot. So I simply tried to furnish the interior in a way that it goes well with the whole theme of the movie, and I used a lot of black, so the interior is almost completely monochrome. I almost used no color whatsoever, only a few flowers with wet vases to have at least a tiny little pop of color. And I also decided to use a white kitchen, which is part of the vampire pack. The house includes 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, so it has a decent size for a small family, I guess, maybe with 1 kid or 2 kids. I could see this house being used for a vampire family maybe, or if you're into CC, you could probably even recreate a legit looking Edward. I mean, you can find CC for basically anything. Just a quick reminder, if you're new to this channel, I personally don't use any CC, so you can download other builds that you see my speed builds and use them. I have included my gallery idea and other packs that I use in the description box as always, so you guys can check out the slot in the gallery if you want to. As I mentioned before, I love to work with the contrast, and I oftentimes change some of the colors in my builds up while building them until it looks nice and all that, but I really enjoy to work on the interior without any contrast because it's just so monochrome and it was challenging but also fun. I think the fact that it's almost all completely black gives it almost a surreal look. Everything just flows together. It almost looks like someone took a huge bucket of black paint and threw it all over the interior so it all merges together. I'm kind of living for this aesthetic. I love anything dark and spooky, but honestly living in a house like this would be too much even for me. I'm a night owl and I guess I could even live as a vampire if I had to without going crazy, without any sunlight, but this would look even too depressing for me. I kept the top floor very, very simple. There's just a hallway and 2 bedrooms and that's it. 1 master bedroom for the parents or whatever and 1 kids room. Especially building the kids room was challenging and fun and weird because obviously kids rooms are usually very colorful and a happy place and all that, but I wanted to stick to the theme 100% even for the kids room, so it was definitely weird to have a kids room that is just completely black and so dark and gloomy, and I used the little teddy bear or whatever that looks like a skeleton. I think it's so cool. It's just perfect for a very dark and spooky kids room. The curtains that I used all over the house are part of the spooky stuff pack, and I think these go so well for a build like this. I love that pack in general, and it was very tempting to add some beautiful pumpkins, but these wouldn't fit to this build at all, Spooktober or not. But I'm actually so stoked to carve pumpkins this year. I do this every year, usually right before Halloween, but last year didn't find any big pumpkins that were suitable for carving, but this year I will definitely hunt some pumpkins down, and I already bought some tools for easier carving, and I will see what faces I will come up with. When you actually carved a Jack Skellington face, which again fits to the whole Tim Burton thing, and it turned out quite cool. So at this point the castle is almost completely finished. I decided to add some more details and also change the colors of the rocks. Originally they were light gray, but this was true light, so I made them a little darker. I also used a wall decoration that is part of the vampire pack at the edge of the roof, and I eventually also removed some of the vines to make it look neat and balanced, and I also decided to remove the big fence at the top right in front of the castle because it's so tall that it just looked weird, and I switched it out for a small wall made out of rocks, and you will see the final result in the screenshots. Of course I also playtested this a lot as always to make sure that nothing is glitching or in the way of the Sims, and I also placed a lot to make sure that nothing disappears or falls down, which can happen when you are elevating objects, so everything is 100% alright with this lot, and if you want to you can play with your Sims in this castle. So this is it. This speed build comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope that you enjoyed this spooky build, and as always I included some screenshots and floor plans, and as I mentioned earlier you can find my gallery ID in the description box and also other packs I used, and I also added my Twitter and Facebook links if you want to follow me for updates, and sometimes I even post cute cat pics. So leave a comment down below if you have any constructive criticism or if you want to let me know anything really, and I will get back to you. And if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!